So again, I'm coming at you live, so I know that the majority of people will be watching this on catch up later at their own leisure. But if you are dropping in to the live stream and you have a comment or a question that you'd like me to take a look at, then please leave it. Otherwise, please leave your comments after the video and perhaps I will address them in a future video. So today's video is going to be about the royals returning to work, and I am so happy and pleased to actually have some other royal news to be talking about other than Prince Harry's memoir Spare. But something has also come to light, and for those of you who actually have the physical copy of the book, you may already have read this, but Prince Harry has admitted in the book that actually the book, or the memories, the recollections from the book, may be inaccurate. So as you know, we'll just start with this and kind of clear it all out of the way first. I think that's definitely the right way to kind of begin this. So the ghostwriter, I think, has come under a lot of pressure and a lot of fire for not fact-checking information that was put in the book. Now, some things are not a matter of recollection. Some things actually literally can be proven. Like, for example, where Prince Harry was when the Queen Mother passed away. Turns out there's photographic evidence he was in Switzerland. He was not at Eton. He did not receive a phone call from a courtier. Those things could actually have been checked. Other things like private conversations where there is no public record are a little bit harder to fact check from the outside looking in. But I'm just going to share J.R. Mohringer. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his name, but he is the ghostwriter of the book, apparently paid up to $1 million to write, to sort of put together Harry's recollections of events. Now, you would have thought that, he would have fact checked. If you're being paid up to $1 million, then you would have thought that you'd have due diligence, I think is the word. So anyway, I'm going to read this quote. This is what JR actually put out on his Twitter, because he's come under fire for all these inaccuracies. So he wants to kind of save his face. He wants to save his reputation by actually clarifying. So in the book somewhere, I don't know where, there is a quote, and Harry says, "Whatever the cause, my memory is my memory. It does what it does, gathers and curates as it sees fit. And there's just as much truth in what I remember and how I remember it as there is in so-called objective facts. Things like chronology and cause and effect are often just fables we tell ourselves about the past." Right, there is so much wrong with this statement. It's basically like a get out of jail free card. The only problem is it doesn't work. It doesn't make any kind of logical sense. So basically what he's saying, I imagine that this would be probably at the start of the book somewhere. Anyway, so let's break it down. Let's just break the whole thing down. So whatever the cause, my memory is my memory. Well, yes, I agree with that. Everyone has a memory. Everyone's memories, recollections are there. And we do have things that cloud our own memories. We may, for example, have seen photographs of past events that we were at. And then those photographs may even distort, or someone else's recollection may distort our own memory of that event. So in terms of my memory is my memory, it does what it does. But the bit that really is weird is it gathers and curates as it sees fit. In other words, is he saying that subconsciously he is fitting information how he wants to perceive it? Is he letting his own unobjectiveness curate and distort reality? And there's but the thing is, he thinks that this is okay. He thinks that this is okay in a memoir that's supposed to be for historical accuracy and historical record, for it to be almost made up. Anyway, and there's just as much truth in what I remember and how I remember it as there is in so-called objective facts. Well, a fact is a fact. A fact is the truth. Anyone's version of the truth is not necessarily the truth. The truth is proven. The truth is something that can be backed up. Someone's memories and recollections of an event, unless there is like video footage or whatever, is just someone's recollections. It's a version of truth. Remember, recollections may vary. Very, very wise words from a very, very wise late monarch. Things like chronology, so chronological order, things that happen as a series of events, and cause and effect are often just fables. We tell ourselves about the past. I don't agree with that. I literally do not agree with that at all, in any way, sense, or form. So chronology is factual. Chronology is a series of events that starts somewhere and ends somewhere. There is a chronological order. It's not distorted. It's not a fable. It's not a recollection. It actually happened. So is he saying that it doesn't matter if my order of events is wrong? It doesn't matter if it's inaccurate. It doesn't matter if my memory has curated things in a way that's untrue. But this is my truth. And I want you to believe my truth no matter what. I mean, it just doesn't make any kind of sense whatsoever. So why even that was included in the book, I literally have no idea whatsoever. Also, JR tweets this. I mean, you can go and have a look for yourself. Just sort of scroll down. So he's tweeted that as well. And it says, talking about the Xbox recollection. It was an Xbox. I was pleased. I loved video games. That's the story. Anyway, it's appeared in many accounts of my life as gospel, and I have no idea if it's true. Pa said Mummy hurt her head, but perhaps I was the one with brain damage, question mark. As a defense mechanism, most likely my memory was no longer recording things quite as it once did. So again, he's accepted and still getting over my cold. This is a live chat. He's accepted that his memory may not be working properly. And I probably agree with him that the lack of memory and the memory distortions and perhaps the ability to record information and store it in your brain may well have been affected, like so many things in his life, by the loss of his mother, that terrible tragedy that happened when he was 12, 13. I say 12, 13 because he was very close to his 13th birthday. So if he is having doubts about his own recollections, it almost begs the question, why are you writing a memoir if most of the things may have been full of complete inaccuracies? So the Xbox was obviously wrong. Perhaps he was recalling a different games console. I don't know. But the key thing to pick up on here is he says that's the story. Anyway, it appeared in many accounts of my life. So it looks like what he's doing is going back through the lens as an outsider. He's reading things about his own life. He might be seeing videos, and he is allowing those things to curate in his brain and form his version of the truth, which may not be the truth because those things might be incorrect and might be wrong. He might be reading other people's accounts of events, such as that he received an Xbox at this age. The truth is, he can't remember. He can't actually remember what he received, or else he'd be able to say, oh no, that account is wrong. It was actually a PlayStation that I received, or a Nintendo, which is more likely to have been out at that time. I don't know. I'm not a big gamer, so I'm sure some gamers out there will be able to probably work out what games consoles were out at that time. Anyway, he's using other people's accounts that may also be. It's almost like he's forming his own memories on other people's secondhand information that he's now Googling about himself, and people could just get it completely wrong. Anyway, I just thought that was really interesting to kind of make out and to talk about. So hello to everyone dropping in. By the way, I am wearing my new Japanese pearl necklace replica again because I love it so much and I just really, really want to wear it. So this is the replica of the Queen's diamond and pearl choker that is now on long-term loan to Catherine, the Princess of Wales. I'm also wearing Queen Victoria's diamond bow brooch. Now, we haven't seen who's going to be wearing that. I imagine that's one that probably will be worn by Camilla. I'm also wearing my replica of the Diana engagement ring. Of course, Catherine now wears this, so I've got my replica of that on. And in ode, of course, to Catherine today, I'm wearing the Lover's Knot tiara, also previously worn by Princess Diana, and made for Queen Mary. Now, Queen Mary was known as a bit of a royal magpie. Am I turning into Queen Mary? Because every video I seem to have more and more jewelry on. You know, I remember all the photos of Queen Mary, and she's got pearl chokers up to here, like literally. She's like, and she's dripping with the diamonds and the jewels. She was absolutely a royal magpie. So maybe I'm turning into her. As I said, hello to everyone who's dropping in. Ingrid says the ghostwriter must be desperate to disassociate his name from this circus. He's been paid a lot of money, so I can understand why he did it. But yes, I think he is a little bit rattled. I mean, you know, whenever you are a creator of something, I know I've done it myself. I've made videos and then I watch them back and I spot like a little tiny mistake, and it can be the tiniest mistake ever, and it annoys you so much that you've not, you know, checked something, or you know, something is wrong. And if ever I notice that, I always go back and try to either cut something out, or I'll try and change it, or I'll make a note in the description box. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, or you just have like a complete brain lapse, maybe you have baby brain, I don't know. Anyway, sometimes if you make a mistake as a creator, it annoys you so much because you take so much pride in what you put out. Well, most people that create things take a lot of pride in what they put out. So if that happens, on the rare occasion that happens, you feel like, oh, it's so annoying, it's so frustrating. So he must feel so frustrated that the book is literally packed full of inaccuracies or recollections that really do vary. And this is what I think the Queen was trying to say in that statement after the Oprah interview. Recollections most definitely do vary. Never mind may vary, they most definitely do vary. And this kind of proves it. And it proves why that statement was put out there when it was. Because, I mean, take, for example, the recount of the dog bowl incident. Harry ends up in the dog bowl. William, you know, bad William comes over steaming. He's already pumped up. He's raring for a fight. Probably something about discussions about Meghan, and he pushes Harry down. He rips his necklace, which of course we saw that was completely mended. Anyway, what Harry hasn't recalled is the other side of the story. He hasn't said what he did to make William so angry prior to coming over. Now, I know, you know, violence is never an option. I don't really agree with, you know, pushing people and pulling people. But something happened to wind William up to the point of being like that. I'm not saying it's right to be like that, but something happened, and Harry has left out what that thing is. So not only is his memory not working properly, but he's also being very selective over what he puts out there. Oh, thank you so much, Kimberly, for the super chat donation. I love the little emoji that you've used. It's a little hippo falling over in a chair. That's me when all this royal news comes in. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your donation. Yeah, so it's just so frustrating. It really is. Frazzled Halo says Harry is just straight up delusional. Very sad to see. It's worrying. It's actually concerning. I think a lot of people out there, despite what Harry is doing, I think a lot of people still have a kind of likening for him, because we can see where things went wrong. We know that his life took a terrible turn when he lost his mother. We all saw that. It was so public. We all felt for him and William. You know, both boys went through that experience. We all have compassion for him there. You know, we all see how hard it must be, to grow up with that in the public eye. But when you start railing against the things that have given you everything in life, you may not have had a perfect life. You may have had trauma. You may have had trouble. But, but, you have also been given a lot of great opportunity. And to now throw that all aside, throw it back in the face of not only your family, but the country as well, it's very disappointing. And it just goes to show that he's not in a very happy place. I really don't think he is. Chelsea says it sounds like he is saying he can make anything up and call it his truth, and then expect us to believe that truth, and then expect the media to take up that truth and ignore the things that they know, to be the truth. It really is truth distorted. I mean, it's almost like he's living in some kind of dystopian society. It's really, really crazy. And the whole thing about, and also, he's obviously been reading and watching what's been going on about his kill count for Afghanistan. He tries to say he did it to stop, all the suicides that happen amongst amongst members of the armed forces. Now we know that that is a problem, and we know that mental health is a big problem, and that people do need to talk about things. So I agree there entirely. But it's almost like he's backpedaling now because he didn't put any of that in the book. He didn't put that as a reason. Um, but the facts are that he said what he said. The quotes are there. It doesn't matter about the wider context. It doesn't matter about why. The fact is, he is a high-profile person who has a high-profile family who claims that he's already at immense risk and threat of life. So therefore, why would you reignite um, something and anger basically your old opponent in a war? It doesn't make any kind of sense. It just puts yourself at risk. It doesn't change. And it's not the press putting that out there. The Taliban saw what he said. They commented on it. He said what he said, and you have to take. If you're going to put out a memoir and you're going to do this, then you need to take accountability for what you say. And if that, like I said, it's all about choices. You may have the freedom to put out whatever you want. That's freedom of speech and expression. I am behind that 100%. But there is also a level of choice. You chose to do it. You chose to put in there what you put in there. And there are going to be consequences of what you put out there. Own it. He made a terrible, terrible mistake in putting out what he did. Choice. Ooh, Susie and Chris says it's treason. Well, I think we do still have treason laws in this country. They're not acted upon, but I think we do still have them. Chelsea says, I think his truth is a load of garbage, and I'm not trying to be mean, maybe a little harsh. H. London says, this is very unfair. Everyone knows there are many things both sides have said that could be debated. Absolutely. But Harry is the one choosing to debate. It's almost like he's trying to blackmail his own family into retaliation. It's his choice to talk about it, but he doesn't have the right to drag other people into it. That is not his right to do so. So, like I said, it's about choices, and you need to accept what comes back from your choices. The royal family have chosen to stay silent. That is their choice, and I think that is the best call to make. Betsy says the truth as he perceives it, or alternative fact. Fake news. Chelsea says for such a public figure who has been photographed his whole life, you can at least fact check. Yeah, there are things that can be fact checked. H. London says Harry has been very forthcoming and has admitted that if he made mistakes, he takes responsibility. But he hasn't taken. He may say, "Oh, I'm going to take responsibility." He hasn't taken responsibility. You say to date, William has not mentioned his assault of Harry because it's a claim. He doesn't have to. Like I said, you can't blackmail your family into talking about something perhaps that didn't even happen. Perhaps it didn't happen the way that Harry has said it. You can't force people into doing that. Just the same as he shouldn't have given any recollections about William's penis. I mean, let's be honest, he shouldn't have said that William is circumcised. He can talk about his own circumcision if he wants to. In fact, he went to great lengths to talk about his todger and how frostbitten it was and all the rest of it. But he has no right to talk at that length about somebody else's body. That is not fair. That is not on. And in fact, there's probably a lawsuit there somewhere if William really wanted to. Right, I'm going to scoot down to the bottom of the comments. Anyway, I'm going to move on because we do have some other news. So the royals have been back to work, and most notable today, of course, are King Charles and the Prince and Princess of Wales, who have basically just come out smiling, laughing with all the crowds. King Charles was out not far from Balmoral. As we know, Charles is staying at Balmoral, and he's actually staying at Burke Hall, which is, I don't know, it's about 15-20 minutes away from the main castle. People think it's very, very close by, but actually it's a little bit further away than what you think. Now, Burke Hall has been his home for many, many years now. He inherited it off the Queen Mother. It's very homely. It's not full of, lots of pompous furniture and paintings. It's very kind of country gent. And of course, he loves the Queen Mother's former garden, which did get destroyed in a flood about 10, 15 years ago, I think it was now. But he's reconstructed the Queen Mother's garden. He loves spending time up there. And the engagement, I think, is in a place called Aboyne in Mid-Deeside. And it was a community kind of food shed, which I think is a little bit like a food bank. So he was seen, minus Camilla. I'll just show you a photo because it's easier doing it this way. And as you can see, he's dressed in tartan, looking very, very smart. He's smiling, he's happy, he's greeting all the crowds. Looks like he had a really, really great visit, but I don't think he's straying too far from Burke Hall on this occasion. So yes, I'm just trying to find some other photos of him there. He went inside and he spoke to all the different staff. And I just think it was there he is outside having a bit of a laugh with all the crowds. So he's looking very unaffected. I think it is the right thing to do, to just kind of carry on and not be thrown into things again that he doesn't want to be thrown into. William and Catherine were also out today, and they were visiting Merseyside. So looking very gorgeous. Now, we saw photographs of them earlier today leaving Windsor. So they have been staying in Windsor. Adelaide Cottage is, of course, their main residence now, which is a little bit odd, I suppose, because they've got a big, huge apartment at Kensington Palace, apartment 1A. And of course, they have their Norfolk family retreat, Anne Hall, which was a wedding present from the Queen. I think what they're going to do is have Adelaide Cottage, which is probably the smallest of their properties at the moment, is probably going to be their main home. And I think, that's because of where the children now go to school, because they want all the children to go to the same school. And they don't necessarily want them all to go to school in London. I think apartment 1A is going to be their home, perhaps, whenever they stay over or need to stay over in London. But I think apartment 1A is going to be their most disused home, sort of rarely used, really, even though technically it's their biggest. And I still think they will use Anne Hall in Norfolk as their sort of holiday bolt hole. I think they're going to spend Christmas there, probably lots of school holidays as well. And they may even, begin to use Balmoral. I can see Balmoral being used a lot more by members of the family just going to stay, either in the main castle or on the grounds in some of the other castles, which, by the way, members of the public can actually visit. So here they are at William and Catherine at the Royal Liverpool University Hospital, smiling, waving. Now, do they look bothered? Does their face look bothered? I don't think their face looks particularly bothered, if you ask me. I think they are doing the best thing. They are carrying on with the work. They are carrying on with the duty. So their visit at Merseyside today is to meet individuals working across healthcare and mental health support services. They went to meet staff and thank them for their ongoing contributions. The first stop on this visit was the Royal Liverpool University Hospital. They then visited the Open Door charity, again in Merseyside, which delivers a range of programs focused on the well-being and mental health of young people using innovation, arts and culture. And here they are at the second event, and it looks like they're meeting the mayor as well. You can see the mayor in the red tunic with the big gold chain of office as well, the mayoral chain. So they've had a really lovely visit today. I think it's important to get out there. So mental health, of course, is a key focus for William and Catherine and the Royal Foundation as a whole, particularly supporting young people. Um, and yes, I just hope that we. Oh, there's some really good photos. I hope that we get to see lots more visits coming in thick and fast. I think we will. There's a selfie, of course, that Catherine took, and there's one of William as well, which I'll show you in a moment. So please let me know your thought. Oh, that's a selfie, isn't it? I don't think William was quite ready there for that one. So let me know your thoughts and feelings on all of these royal visits. Let me know if you thought that the royal family looked unbothered by what was going on. The royal family tweeted on behalf of King Charles saying, "Thanks to everyone in Aboyne in Mid Deeside who welcomed the King to their community shed today. His Majesty met locals, including older people and young families who used the shed as a meeting place. It also used as a space to deliver practical skills sessions." So there we go. Oh, and Princess Anne has been out at work as well. So she's actually been on a royal tour of Cyprus. Now, again, this goes down to, I suppose, the fact that the Princess Royal doesn't care about publicity. She just gets on and does the work. I think most people didn't even know over the last few days that she had been to Cyprus. So she's been in Cyprus meeting British forces personnel. She's very respected in the armed forces. She started the visit at the residence of the British High Commissioner, where she was joined a reception for UK-Cyprus relations. And here she is. I will bring up a photo of that. Just waiting for it to come up. With a beautiful pink scarf. I mean, look at that. There she is attending a reception. She's looking more and more like the Queen. She's got a really nice handbag as well. She always looks smart. Now, her hair, I think, by this point, is iconic. I think it's pretty legendary. Most definitely. Let me know, have you had the same hair as long as Princess Anne has had her hair? She also met, if I can bring it up, she also met with Nicholas Anastasiades. There we go. So you can see him there with Princess Anne. So yeah, she's had another successful but very low-key tour. She doesn't, brag about things. She's not flashy. I can see lots of people saying she's got legendary hair. She does have legendary hair. That hair will just go down as legend. If I could, I may even try to fashion mine into a Princess Anne type hair. Sandeep says, in ancient times, the younger brother would be treasonous to the elder brother. Yeah, that's history. Harry has shown such feelings in situations are timeless, and the younger brother can be treasonous to elder brother in 2022. Yeah, I mean, I suppose some people could interpret what Harry is doing as being treasonous, but fortunately today, the repercussions of that, or the judgment of being treasonous, are not what they were in medieval times. James Medford says, agree, Balmoral should be used by the other royals, and the king is happy at Burke Hall. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I don't believe the rumours that it's going to be turned into a monument and a museum to Queen Elizabeth. Mainly on the principle that it was mostly been left untouched how Queen Victoria had it. It's still got some original Victorian wallpaper. It's all very tartan, as Queen Victoria and Albert designed it to be. So, if anything, it's more of an ode to Queen Victoria than it was a personal monument to Queen Elizabeth. In fact, if you really want to see and visit a place that is entirely Elizabeth and Philip, you actually need to go and see the Royal Yacht Britannia, which is moored in Edinburgh, just on one of the ports, just on the fringes of Edinburgh. It's open to the public. If you do visit Edinburgh, go and see the Royal Yacht Britannia, because at the time that it was built, it was the only royal home where the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh actually had any real input on the design features. They chose the furniture, they chose the decor. You can see the Queen's bedroom and the Duke's bedroom. Everything in there was their choice. So I don't really buy the whole turning Balmoral into, or even Sandringham into, this kind of museum to the Queen, because to me it doesn't ring true. If you really want to get a sense of the Queen's personal style, the only real home that she had, well, no, Clarence House was a little bit, I suppose, that way. But then, of course, the Queen Mother had it afterwards and sort of redid things. But early Clarence House was designed by the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. But in terms of what we can still see today that remains largely unchanged, the Royal Yacht Britannia. So do go and see it. I haven't even seen it. I've seen pictures, but I would love to go and see it. Right, let's have a look. Oh, thank you so much to Cynthia, who says off to work here in Canada. No, California, USA. Sometimes I get mixed up by the initials of all the states, but no, that's definitely California. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Sterling says, Harry the hypocrite, he talks about wanting privacy, yet he spills private info about his brother regarding the circumcision. Yes, I mean, something needs to be circumcised. I'm not sure it's his todger. Aurora Rose says, looks like a sugar is in the comments. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know if that's good or bad. Do let me know. Lady Trisha says he has had too much therapy. He needs some time in the pub with some real men. Perhaps he does need to retouch, check base, if you like, with his old friends back in the UK. Cynthia says he is still an emotional 12-year-old inside. I agree with that entirely. He needs much more therapy and work on this. He needs something, most definitely. Right, let's go down. Sandeep says the best way to show Prince Harry his place is to not give him any publicity. Sadly, everyone is reporting on his book because it's such a big thing. And, this is the most sort of, revelations from within the royal family that we've had since the times of Charles and Diana, when they did their own books and their own TV interviews. The only difference being that I would probably say that Diana pretty much regretted it after it came out, because it caused a whole load of issues and problems. And Charles, I think, would definitely have said that it was wrong decision to do it. And of course, Harry doesn't want to, well, he claims he doesn't want to repeat the mistakes of the past, and he wants to end this generational pain. All I can see is repetition. He's actually pretty much doing the same thing. So I don't really see the justification in what he's doing now as what happened in the past. I think it was wrong then, and I think it was wrong now. Paulette says the British press will talk about his book and also other things that are non-relevant because that's how they make their money. The press do make money. I mean, the press has never been. I don't think. Show me a press in the world where they don't make money. They need to make money to be the press. Like I said, it's all about this kind of symbiotic relationship. When there is balance, when there is the right balance, it works. When something gets tipped in either direction, it kind of ceases to be, I suppose, accountable. And I have no problem with trying to address a balance. I certainly, don't want to read complete pack of lies, but also, there has to be that kind of mutual respect. There has to be a little bit when it comes to the royal family. I'm not talking about celebrities. I'm not talking about, kind of normal news. I'm talking about royal news here. There has to be this kind of, I suppose, sometimes you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I'll give you these photos. In fact, William and Catherine, I think, have the balance spot on. We don't see picked paparazzi photographs of George and Charlotte and Louis. We certainly, we saw the Princess of Wales, Diana, dropping William and Harry off at school. That doesn't happen anymore. I don't think I've seen a photograph of the now Wales children, formerly the Cambridge children, being dropped off at school, other than the photo calls on the first days of school that were arranged. And even then, that wasn't, mass photographers like it was in William and Harry's day when they were young. So I do see a change. I do see a change in the press since Diana's passing. They have these, kind of unofficial deals. William and Catherine have largely keep their private life private. We don't see all these paparazzi photographs. We don't see paparazzi chasing Catherine down the street or William. So things have changed from what it was in the past. And I think there does also need to be a little bit of recognition of that. Jan says, some would argue that Harry has already had far too much therapy from a series of Californian quacks, which has only served to exacerbate his constant navel gazing. I love your descriptive words. I mean, yeah, I think too much therapy, or perhaps the changing of therapy, or trying out different methods of it, is good to find out what you might feel works for you. But it can, I suppose, too much of it maybe can distort your all. If you've already got a distorted memory, or you're having trouble with recollections, I don't think it can necessarily help. What I do think may be helpful, and I don't know if Harry's tried it, is the regressive therapy. I think he does need to try and go back to that moment, because if what I do know about mental health and those sorts of trauma issues is you have to almost go back to the trauma to address it. And if Harry has done what he says, and he's blocked things out, and he kind of puts things in boxes and blocks them away, that's hard. It's difficult to do. But I think he does need to go back, and he needs to fix that 12, 13-year-old boy. Um, and the problem is, you aren't ever going to fix the real issue. Diana can't come back. So it's negotiating how you do that. And he does need help to do that. James Medford says, I think it's lovely that the king likes smaller and cozy. Yeah, I mean, okay, Birkhall is not tiny. It's not a tiny cottage. It's quite big, but it's definitely smaller than Balmoral Castle. Highgrove has been owned by the king since 1980. The garden has been his project for over 40 years. When Charles bought Highgrove, it was described as a pretty ugly sort of. It was a Georgian building, but it was described as being quite plain. And everything that he's done to it and made it. And the gardens are outstanding at Highgrove. Problem is, he bought it through the Duchy of Cornwall. So, and of course, at the time, being the Prince of Wales, he owned the Duchy of Cornwall, well, custodian of the Duchy of Cornwall. Now that's William. So I suppose, unless the Duchy of Cornwall was to sell Highgrove to Charles, which I've not heard any rumours of, it's not actually his anymore. Perhaps William could choose to long-term lease Highgrove out, back to Charles, and Charles could still use it. But I don't think William and Catherine have any notion of moving into Highgrove. So I think it will be kept for Charles, but I suppose as a matter of formality, he may have to lease it off William, because otherwise, you still have to justify the spending and the accounts and all of that of the Duchy of Cornwall. So I think William couldn't just let his father just live there free. I think there would have to be some kind of lease done to make it accountable. Rainbow Pickle says therapy should be there to help, but give tools to help you along, not become attached to them when anything happens to you. Having them on speed dial isn't healthy. Well, we don't know exactly what he's tried, um, or how often he calls, but he did say that he called his therapist before he told Megan about the dog bowl incident. So that would suggest that perhaps he does have therapy on speed dial. Christine says, what puzzles me is when William broke his necklace. He was on the phone with his therapist straight. That's what I've just said. But when Megan said she was suicidal, he didn't know what to do. I mean, going back to that story, I mean, we don't know exactly the truth of what happened, but we do know that from the Oprah interview, Meghan made a complaint about not having her passport. It was kept for safekeeping. Now, that is standard practice for members of the royal family, but it doesn't mean that you have to ask for permission to have your passport back, for example. All you've got to do is say, I want my passport, and they will give it you. And we know that that's true because Meghan was able to travel outside of the UK on numerous occasions. She went to her baby shower in New York. She flew private jet to Elton John instead of being at Balmoral with the Queen. Of course, Harry as well. Well, not on the baby shower, but to Elton John. So we know that they have no issue getting the passport. It's just a formality of safekeeping for a high-profile royal individual. I can understand that may seem a little bit weird if you've not had that before. It would seem weird to me, but it's pretty standard practice. Do excuse me. So going back to what they're able to do, the fact that you've got royal protection doesn't mean that they stop you from doing things. There can't be an order for the royal protection, for example, to stop you from going somewhere. So going back and trying to read between the lines, I imagine that Harry may have spoken to people within the palace to say Meghan's going through, issues. Perhaps she needs some help, and perhaps she needs to go somewhere. In London, most people who have these sorts of issues end up going to a place called the Priory, which has all the help that people need, including celebrities and high-profile people. So Harry may have said something along the lines of, perhaps Meghan needs to go to the Priory and have a stint in there to make herself get better. The palace may well have said, oh, well, does she really need to go? Perhaps it wouldn't look very good, blah, 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 blah. Perhaps they did try and put him off sending her there. However, it was still his choice. If she was suicidal and she really, really needed that level of help, if you've got someone at the palace saying, oh, well, maybe I don't think she should go, you just take her. You just take her. You pop her in the car. I mean, he's got his Audi in London. We've seen him with his leased Audi. And you just take her there, and you don't care about what people say or what people think. If that is what you really want, then you go and you do that. They also were able to get their passports to leave anyway. So no, if you're able to release a statement saying that you're going to leave the royal family, then you can quite easily put somebody into the Priory to get the help that you think that they need. So I've never really bought that story, to be quite honest. Right. Paulette says, if she had gotten help, it would give the appearance that it was the fault of the palace and the stress. It would give the appearance that she needed help. And everyone would be speculating why she was in there. So yes, I agree that people would speculate as to why she was in there, and it would open up questions. But it seems like Harry and Meghan want to freely answer those sorts of questions. So I don't really see that would necessarily have been a problem for Harry and Meghan, because at that point they could have turned around and said, well, I've been feeling this way because blah, 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 blah. And it would have been the perfect opportunity to actually voice what they wanted to. Bearing in mind back in the early days of the relationship, Prince Harry was able, I think, without press consent, to put out a statement about the way that the press were treating Meghan in those early days. Um, so I don't see what the issue is. If he could do it then, he could do it now. And then, okay. How are, well, I've been rambling at you for 45 minutes. So I think I'm going to leave it here. Thank you for watching this video. I am so happy to see a return to work for the other royals. I think over the next week we're going to see even more kind of engagements from King Charles. Perhaps the Wessexes will resume duties. I think we're going to see even more from Princess Anne, and of course William and Catherine. One more thing before I go. They kind of teased the Prince and Princess of Wales teased there is a big thing, a big announcement coming for Catherine, and it is to do with her early years work. Don't forget, we had the big survey that she did, and at the time we knew that she was going to take her time to really get to grips with this issue, because she thinks it's the cornerstone and the foundation for all the mental health work that she is doing. So I think it must be something relating to the collation of information and data that's going to kind of show her direction of work in the future. Some people speculated maybe she would take over the Prince's Trust, but no, this announcement is definitely to do with her work on the early years. So there will be a big announcement about that, which obviously is long-term impact instead of short-term impact. I think a lot of people these days, it's the kind of TikTok generation, isn't it? People want instant gratification when they're scrolling through. And it's the same, I think, with sort of charity endeavors. People like to see the impact straight away. They like to see a donation. They like to see, something happening. What they don't realize is that to get long-term, meaningful impact, it takes a lot of time. It takes research. And that is the direction I think that William and Catherine in particular, are going in with the early years mental health work. It's for the long haul. It's not something that we're going to see the impact of straight away. And let's not forget, in the UK, this isn't the case in other parts of the world, but in the UK, nobody spoke about mental health. It was a taboo subject. Nobody spoke about it until William, Catherine, and Harry came along with the Royal Foundation and completely turned the tables. It wasn't a quick fix. It wasn't something that happened instantly. They opened the conversation over a long period of time. And now they have had meaningful, impactful, long-term change. It's not a race. This is grassroots. It's about opening up conversations. It's about changing the way people think and then affecting long-term change. And I think we need to applaud William and Catherine for doing that so well. So I would like to say a big thank you to the Prince and Princess of Wales for doing the duty and service that I think this country and the world and the Commonwealth actually need. So thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will be back probably tomorrow with another video. So from me to you all, and goodbye.